right, we're going to get into bag of the trash. Now, we spoke about this earlier. You guys are madly in love with your team, the Bronx.
What do you want us to do?
The Bronx Bombers.
What do you want us to do?
First question: the bag of the trash. Should teams be afraid to see the Yankees in the playoffs? Bag of the trash. Eddie, to you first, sir.
We're not just going to do this together?
I'm with it.
Yeah, I want to do that together. Go ahead, you guys. 3, 2, 1.
Bag it! Again, and I'll explain a little bit. Like, to my earlier point, right, is that, like, you don't want to see a team that's hot right now, and the Yankees are hot right now, and they're only going to get even more healthier. We're going to get all of our guys back, if not all of them. Here's the question is that, like, obviously you see Garrett Cole doing well because it's pitching. Obviously, offensively, we're okay. Offensively, we don't have to worry about anything. In the past, the playoffs, the offense kind of disappears because it's better pitching. But you would hope that the reason why we paid Garrett Cole all this money is that he will be our number one. That's fine. You got Garrett Cole. You got playoff Tanaka going in game 2. That's great. He's always shown us that he can deliver. Now, who's your 3? I don't know if you guys agree with me.
You want to break them up, but you want to put Jordan at 3 and King at 4.
So you'd go Jordan Montgomery over Davy Garcia? I'm really liking Davy Garcia.
Yeah, because I want, for the sake of the argument, the least talented one in the middle game.
Right.
If Jordan has a good game, like he can have a good game for like a third game set or whatever. But let's say we sweep a team in the second round in a 3-game set, then you have Davy Garcia, King, and then we can close off another team, starting the rotation again with Cole and start a new series with Tanaka.
Right.
So that's just my breakdown mentally, and I think
right.
I don't see why not.
The story is the Yankees need our guy Herman Sevi back.
Yeah, we do, but unfortunately,
if you really want to put it like this, you could
Herman.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. But if you really want to put it like this, because King has the least amount of experience, you can put him at 3.
Yeah.
Well, so the thing is with baseball playoffs, you only really need three starting pitchers. And then you could use King, you could use Montgomery, you could use Davey, or whoever's the not third option. You can use any one of those guys to come out of the bullpen if one of your starters get into trouble.
Yeah.
So, the way I would do it is that I would put Davey in, let's say, game 2. If he gets himself into a little bit of trouble, you have Jordan Montgomery that can back him up. The unfortunate part is that.
Yeah, but you don't want Jordan to back him up.
Well, you'd want King in there.
Or Chad Green to come in.
Or Chad Green, exactly. Chad has shown that.
You don't want to burn a starter in a second game just to come in third.
Well, that's, again, in a do-or-die situation, you would have to.
Oh, well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So all you guys are bagging, teams should be afraid of the Yankees in these upcoming playoffs. I'll just say one of my fondest memories is going to a Yankees-White Sox game. And you guys remember that game?
I remember that game.
And
I wasn't there, so.
Yankees did not win. It was so funny. I enjoyed it. It was a playoff contention game. They needed this game to get in. They lost bad. I was scared for my life because I had on a Yankee shirt and a White Sox hat. And people were throwing drinks. One of the greatest moments of my life. So don't run into them White Sox this year.
One of the funniest things that I did was it was like one fan, because he heard Dev talking, and one fan was like, he pulled up the standings on his phone. He was like, yo, look at your team. Look where your team's at. They're at like the bottom of the standings.
Yeah. They were pissed that day. It was like one other White Sox fan, like a while over and shit. He I hear him screaming, me and him talking across the some girl had to grab her boyfriend because he was like trying to throw drinks and trying to talk to me like from 3 or 4 rows back. I tell these niggas, I'm like, y'all gonna help me if they jump me? They like, no.
Nope. No. Hell no.
All right, moving on.
You better be out the stadium for Sinatra song.
It was like 8th inning. I took my hat off and shit. I'm like, yeah, this shit is over. Let me I gotta jump back on this 5 train and shit. Let me take this hat off.
5 is not even there.
Oh, 4. Whenever the 4, it's the 4. What is it?
Yeah, it's the 4.
The 4.
Right, 4 or 5. One of them shits was right there.
That's how y'all know he don't be going to the Yankee games.
Dev's from Chicago. Cut him some slack.
Exactly. I'll go to the Yankees game unless I get some free tickets. And my free tickets used to be clutch though. All right, but moving on. Bag of the trash. The nigga from Carmel talking to me. Shut up.
Hey.
I know my Bronx, bro.
Yeah, let him know.
Hey.
I know my Bronx, bro. Especially to get to the game, bro.
We just had to get forced to go up there. We didn't want to go up there. It wasn't our choice.
Right there, all these out-of-towners.
Right, these niggas don't even count. Right? Westchester ass niggas. I don't even count y'all. All right, so back in traffic.
Oh, boy.
Clippers just lost. We all know. Upset by the Nuggets. Now, playoff P.
Proclaimed playoff P.
Play less P. They got a lot of nicknames for.
Shout out to my man Troy. Pandemic P.
Pandemic
P.
Shaq calling them layoff P. They got a lot of names for Paul George. But
damn, poor guy, dog.
They're trying to coin Paul George as the new Dwight Howard. And how they got to this is Dwight Howard was having a great career in Orlando. He felt like they wasn't doing enough, so then he wanted to get out of Orlando. Since he left Orlando, he's been a journeyman, going from team to team, still trying to find his way, still trying to get back to that superstar status, and has yet to do that. PG did the same thing with Indiana, wanting to leave. Been looking for a spot, been traveling a lot, although we know he's a good player, but in big moments, he tends to not show up. So based on that synopsis, bag of the trash is Paul George the new Dwight Howard? John, to you.
Oh, I was waiting to say it, but in all honesty, I get the direction that they was trying to go with that, but I'm gonna trash it because I'm gonna trash it for the simple reason, if you take them at their best, Dwight Howard, people forget what Dwight Howard was. Like,
yeah, I mean he was marketed very well.
Like what defensive player, defensive player of the year, and he carried his team to the finals. He beat LeBron in the conference finals.
Right.
He beat LeBron, so I get the whole him being the star and then being like a journeyman from team.
Right, the star journeyman. That's the whole thing.
But the only thing is, I don't even think Paul George has accomplished as much as Dwight in the aspect of what Dwight Howard did in the league,
So what's your verdict, John?
That's what I'm trashing. I'm trashing it. I'm trashing it because I can see why the whole journeyman thing, but Dwight Howard in his prime
was dominant. He was unstoppable.
Like, Paul George is a really good player, but I don't think he's Dwight Howard type level player.
Right.
Put them both in. Paul George still in his prime. Yeah. Dwight Howard's not in his prime no more. He's a little older, but he's still showing he's doing his role. He's doing it disrupting, playing defense. So that's the only reason why I trash it, because I like Dwight, but other than the fact that he did my Lakers dirty back in what was it, 2013, 2012?
Yeah.
Other than that, I always liked Dwight Howard. Been a fan of Dwight.
All right, Ed, are you bagging the trash? And based on those synapses, the superstar journeyman is PG and Dwight one and the same.
Well, so I get where Johnny's coming from as far as his accolades and who he was in his prime and who PG was in his prime. I remember always hating PG. Again, there was a time where I was fully involved in basketball because I was following Melo and the Knicks, especially from 2012 to about 2015. We did have that 53-game win season, and I do remember hating the shit out of Paul George because Paul George in his prime just was a Nick killer, right? He would he was my version in that small time.
Before injury, PG was a beast.
Right, exactly. So what my thing is that okay, so I'm going to trash it, but the only reason why I'm going to trash it is because Dwight's kind of fallen back a little bit more. Obviously, Johnny said he did the Lakers dirty. He did bounce around a little bit. Now he's back with the Lakers. I think he does have a good shot of winning a championship finally. Yeah. While I think that Paul George can possibly Maybe if the Clippers can get their shit together and not lose again. Yeah, exactly. If they can get their shit together, I mean, we'll see what happens with Doc Rivers. Although I love him as a coach, obviously he's had zero success with them. He can get them to the playoffs, but he hasn't been taking them to the promised land yet. There is that like curse of the Donald Sterling thing. We won't get into all that. But I think that, yeah, I know he had like that like big documentary on ESPN, like of where he was going to go and like where he decided. I think he just like kind of like overhyped all this stuff in his own head. So I just think that he's not the superstar he's eventually going to be. You know what I mean? Like he has the potential to do it and he can get that stardom back, but I think he's chasing that too much. So in that sense, I just don't see PG winning a championship where there's a big possibility that Dwight can be a contributor to a championship team.
And also, all right, Dwight Howard, I said Dwight, Paul George, he did, get hurt, but he hasn't had, he had a really, really good season. He was like 28 last season.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing is he hasn't been playing as well in the playoffs the last 3 years. So he made it 2 years in a row with the Thunder, made it with the Clippers. He had to really, he had a good game here and there, but his overall performance wasn't what you expect of Paul George.
Yeah. All right, Kev, bag of the trash it. Is Paul George the new Dwight Howard?
I'm gonna trash it just because I feel like he'll be able to bounce back as long as he gets out of his head. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he had a horrible like playoff run this year. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and me being the most like disconnected from the sport altogether, I still know enough to know that Paul George is still somewhere in his prime where like I know he's kicking himself in the head right now. I don't know what he needs to do, if he needs to like go into like a Mamba mentality type thing, like Kobe said, like he saw a flash one day, he missed like a free throw, and then what he do? He had like John. What did Kobe end up doing? He was training with like lights going off in his face and stuff like that or something. I don't know. Paul George just needs to get his mind right and learn how to lock in for the playoffs, and he'd be all right.
Yeah, and again,
he can become the playoff P he's always wanted to be.
Right. And
I think Kobe used to say he was staring into the sun before he put up a bunch of shots after the day like a camera went off in front of his face.
Bro,
Like
that's a meme thing.
He's a different person, man.
That's a meme.
And again, just to piggyback off Kev, I am trashing it because again, I think PG has hit, except for this season, the last 2 seasons he's had great playoffs. It's just last time Dame just did a miraculous fucking like shot, sent him home like.
They lost 5 to Portland.
Oh, did they?
But yeah, that's what I'm saying.
6.
Listen, you're gonna put it on Dame's shot, but
even with that,
they put themselves in that position.
But PG became the #1 scorer. Like PG really became like he was an MVP conversation. Like
last year, yeah.
Like people was really like had PG in that conversation. So like this playoffs, he didn't play as good as he did last year. So Dwight Howard, and I'm trashing him for multiple reasons because when Dwight was in his hay, he was really a superstar player. Like he was on all those commercials. He was a superstar level player. PG, although was great in Indiana, he never got to that superstar level. And it's been him chasing, trying to get back to himself. But Dwight is at the ladder of his career where PG still has time to correct it. So I'm trashing it based on those reasons. All right, moving on. Yeah. We already talked about this in the NBA recap. Is honest, should Giannis be the MVP? Bag of the trash. Real quick, Johnny, go. Should Giannis be the MVP?
Wait, I'm sorry. It was breaking up. Say that again.
Should Giannis be the MVP? Bag of the trash.
Bag it.
And we know why.
MVP. He should have been. He is MVP. He should have been MVP. Right. Bag it.
Yeah.
According to what was explained to me, he is the most valuable player overall to his team, and that's what the voting process is done based off of. Bag it.
Eddie.
I think we accidentally already covered this. Right. We were having a little bit of technical difficulties on my end. But yeah, bag it. We've already discussed this.
Exactly. All right, moving on. Now, this question was brought to you by Charles DiCaprio. So,
Hey.
shout out to Cap. So, we've seen all these fucking injuries. We see the fucked up the Jets field, like fucked up.
You said Metro, bro.
Yeah, I don't know where
The Jet Life Stadium.
Jet Life.
Jet Life.
So, bullshit, all this fucked up shit happening in the NFL. Bag of the trash shit. Did the NFL need a preseason? Eddie, going to you first.
I mean, devil's advocate says, well, yeah, I'm going to bag it because, maybe you would hope that there is no soft tissue injuries. These guys weren't hitting in real life. That's why, you saw a lot of – that's why, I feel like these 4 weeks of the NFL, from week 1 to week 4, I think that's the preseason where you're going to, I don't think you're going to really see what teams actually have and what they really are. I mean, we saw Justin Herbert. I want to start a new segment, too, of quarterbacks and offenses that look better than Sam Darnold and the Jets. Not to Sam Darnold's fault, to Adam Gase's fault. So my pick this week is Justin Herbert. Held the Kansas City Chiefs to, I think under 0 points in the first second half. And the kid looked like a stud, rushed for 1, threw for 2. But again, it's like you're not playing for this guy, right? Tyrod Taylor was an early scratch. So much like Daniel Jones in his first game, much like Joe Burrow in his first game, teams aren't really, much like Kyler Murray in his first game, teams aren't prepared for these guys. They've never seen film on them. They've only seen college tapes of them. And again, if you're not ready, then you're not going to know what to expect. So again, in this time, you're not tackling. You're seeing a lot of soft tissue injuries, and now you're seeing a lot of players getting hurt, right. for real. Like we talked about it earlier with Saquon and with Christian McCaffrey, Michael Thomas, all these guys, Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. I think this was a bad call on the NFL to maybe not schedule some time where there is hitting. I get that they were doing the COVID, the COVID restrictions. But what's to say we couldn't have started the NFL season right now, and this we could be talking preseason right now, right. And then potentially move it on. Again, it's not like the NFL doesn't have time. You would have planned it out perfectly so the Super Bowl falls on President's Day weekend, and then most people are off on Monday anyway. So that was your fault. You really had a chance to you had an opportunity to make sure that didn't happen. I get that you wanted the NFL season to start right away, but at the same time, you saw all these other leagues take a step back. You saw all these other leagues delay, take a break, and then continue. And even in the NBA bubble, the NHL bubble, the MLB bubble, there was still a slight spring training, bubble training, whatever the hell you want to call it, so guys can warm up. The NFL didn't do that. So again, I think
the exhibition games.
Yeah,
right. If I'm an NFL player that if I'm and I'm sorry guys, I hate to bring it up, but if I'm Saquon Barkley, I'm pissed.
Definitely.
These are things this is the NFL's fault. This isn't his fault. This isn't the player that hit him or the guy that threw it. This is it's not the field's fault. It's no one's fault. You know whose fault it is? It's Roger Goodell's, and it's the NFL owners. You guys had your opportunity to make sure that your guys were safe. I know you were worried about COVID, but you weren't worried about these injuries, and you're clearly seeing it now.
All right, Johnny, bag or trash it?
I definitely bag it. I feel like obviously players is always going to be injuries. It's part of football. But at the rate that there were so many injuries, I felt like the preseason would have helped because they would have got some in-game action.
They got acclimated.
It would prepare their bodies better because obviously you can do all the workouts, all the training, all the stuff. Look right. Jacked, but you got to get on the field and play that live game, and that that changes everything. Wrong bump, someone fall on your leg, a whole bunch of stuff could go wrong, But it's just you get your body prepared, take a few hits, adjust how it goes. I feel like the preseason would have benefited. It would have helped the players out. Because for 50-plus injuries, that's probably
and superstars.
Yeah,
this is crazy. We're losing superstars.
Like I said, players always get hurt, and I feel like it's definitely going to be a big reaction to it because of the fact a lot of star players got hurt.
Yeah,
a lot of star players got hurt, so it's definitely going to be a big reaction. Damn.
And it's a lot of young stars, the future of the league that's supposed to carry the torch, got injured this week as well. So it's like it's a lot of shit that's going on. But
that like adds fuel to the fire. Right. That's what I said. The young stars adds fuel to the fire. But I feel like the preseason, like I said, players are gonna get hurt. It's just it happens. But I feel like the preseason would have helped, and maybe 50 injuries, over 50 or 50 plus would have been like 20,
right,
25.
Before I go to Kev, quick question: how do you practice for a contact sport?
You get hit.
Contact.
Yeah.
Contact.
Nutcrackers, boy.
Yeah. Bag the trash into the NFL head of preseason.
Yeah. Obviously, I think this is an obvious bag. I think collectively we could have did this, but just touching quick on everybody's thing, like, yo, it's a contact sport. There's no way to prep yourself for practice. Like, I don't care how many dummy bags you run into in high school. They used to have for like running back or skill positions.
Right.
Some shit that looked like a jigsaw machine.
Yep.
Running through the thing to get hit on our ankles and stuff like that. Like, even that's not enough. You know what I mean? It's literally a contact sport. All of the players get their reps in, including the starting players, and they get taken out so that they're gradually getting back into that.
You have the third preseason game where they play the whole half too. So
a lot of us haven't really like touched on it, but there's a mental factor behind getting hit too. So if you're hesitating on a specific play or a specific step or move that you normally just commit, just because like, oh, okay, I'm getting hit, I could do this. You go through that usually like earlier, you know what I mean?
You tense up before you get that real hit, before you get cracked, your body tense up. Once you get that out, then it's like, oh shit, let's go.
And anybody that, I mean, it's hard to say or do, but if you're getting in a car accident or something like that, like, you don't want to tense your body up. Like, you want to try and like let it happen.
That's not what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you're supposed to.
Want to brace yourself.
Yeah, Drew knows a lot about that.
I'm a big advocate for saying that everything in life has prerequisites, and we obviously go through different levels in our life to get to where we're at. And this is just another example. Like, preseason are prerequisites for what we're seeing now, and they skipped it. You know what I mean? A lot of players physically weren't prepared.
Yeah. And again, this is the most contact sport we have. You need contact to prepare for it. So the NFL skipping the preseason was really bad. Yeah, it really played itself. I know they were thinking about COVID, but like Ed said, they wasn't really thinking about player safety, and we can see the results of that. But that's bag of the trash.